So for those of you who don't know me, I'm actually a Toronto native SalesForce employee of 13 years, but I'm in a global role, so I'm often somewhere flying around working with executives. But one of the things that I get to do in this role is to interface with some really amazing, strong female leaders through work I've done related to the United Nations. So Lina and I met in the summer or September, officially in New York, but I want to give you a little bit of background on her and how that came to be. And we're going to talk a lot about her life and her experience and how she developed SheFighter as a very strong business globally. So Lina founded SheFighter. It's the first self-defense women's studio in the Middle East. It's expanded globally, and it empowers women and girls to stand up for themselves by providing physical training as well as awareness seminars that address other topics related to violence against women and also building confidence and just being a stronger individual. Lina's been training since she was 5, and so she is a 3rd-degree black belt Taekwondo. She has 20 medals, all gold medals, and she was headed towards the Olympics as a competitor, and then she got injured. So there's a ... in there because that's where her story takes a really amazing turn. But I wanted to highlight some of the awards that she's received in the last 5 years since, and then we're going to talk about her journey. So she received 1st place at the Women in Business Global Awards at the United Nations headquarters in Geneva in 2014. She then became Female Entrepreneur of the Year in 2016. In Dubai, getting at the economic conference where she received that award. Hillary Clinton gave her award in 2018, the Economic Empowerment Global Leadership Award. And then more recently, she got one through ESPN and UFC, and that's the Inspire Humanitarian Award. And then I met her when she received the We Empower UN SDG Global Challenge Award. So she's clearly doing something right, and she's being recognized around the world. For her business, SheFighter. The competition that she entered where I met her and was one of the judges, she had to talk about her business and how she was meeting UN Sustainable Development Goals as part of that business. So she had to put in a video and she had to write a document that talked about it. And so she actually meets 3 different SDGs. One's around good health, gender equality, and partnerships to receive and to meet the goal. So that's SDG 3, 5, and 17. So Lina, welcome. Thank you for coming here and spending time with this group.
Yeah, thank you, Julie. I think she said everything. I can leave, right?
No, now we're gonna get into the good stuff. And I know like you're a really humble person and that the awards are great, but you've got a much stronger purpose in terms of your passion. So we're gonna talk about that for a little bit, and then we are gonna have a little demonstration. I'm gonna ask for participation. And that will lead to the fact that next week we have a couple of sessions where you can learn an hour of self-defense in a safe setting. We're not going to injure anybody, but I think it's really important. Like when I asked Lina to come here, I strongly believe in just supporting people as individuals and giving them things to think about so they can be protected and grow as individuals and have a stronger life. And so I met Lina and I heard about her story. I thought this is just the coolest thing to bring in so that you can learn a little bit more and hopefully never have to use some of the skills. So when it comes to SheFighter, talk to me about the journey that you're on. First of all, what made you go into Taekwondo so young at 5? And where were you at the time?
So when I was young, when I was a kid, I used to beat boys a lot in the streets. So that was like my daily routine, you know. Like,
where were you?
I was in Jordan. I was raised in Jordan, born in Jordan, the Middle East, and it wasn't familiar at that time that girls would be in the street, but mostly boys, and girls would be inside playing with dolls or whatever, you know, trying to learn other things that girls do, like cooking with their moms. But I was a different kid. I was always questioning what's going on. Like, why do I have to follow society norms? Why do I even have to look like any other girl? I mean, I'm a girl, right? But I can look differently. And I started questioning since I was young. And my parents, they were very nervous at that time. Like, why you're different? Why you can't be like your sister? And I used to tell them as I was a kid. I told them like, you know, because they're normal, and normal is boring for me. So I used to go outside lot, play with boys. I used to love soccer. We call it football in the Middle East. In the American language, they call it soccer. It's not even an accent language. So I used to go outside, but boys would not let me join them with the team. There's one big bully. His name is Jamal, and he told me one time, "Hey, where do you think you're going?" And I said, "Well, to play football." And he said, "Girls are not allowed to join the team. Go inside where you belong." So how did I solve that problem at that time? Gender inequality. I attacked him. And I started punching him on the face. He started punching me back. And then he cheated and took a rock and hit it on my eye. And I was crying and screaming. And that was my daily life, trying to prove myself that I'm a human. I want to be outside and I want to play with the other kids. So my parents had enough. They said, like, we can't control Lina. You know, she's like, she's gonna run outside. So they decided to enroll me in Taekwondo since I was a kid. And it was the best decision ever because I learned how to fight properly. But then they teach you how to fight in order not to fight. So I never had to fight ever after I joined Taekwondo. I was only learning techniques. I learned a lot about discipline and commitment. I became a better kid and well, yeah, I did. I became more dedicated and focused on the training to build more my self-growth and my identity. And it was, for me, Taekwondo was even better than going to school because I hated school at that time. I could not sit in the classroom for too long. I was a very active kid. And I would ask questions like, why girls have to wear skirts all the time or like dresses. And they would tell me that I'm not normal, that other kids are normal. So I was like bored from their ideas, so I would just join sports all the time. Taekwondo was my main focus. I think all kids and teenagers need a mentor or someone, a role model, where they can talk to. My Taekwondo coach and master was my mentor at that time. So I would every time after school, I'm just so exhausted from school. I hated school, and he would tell me, "And you're different, so what? Get in the training room." And I love that he kept telling me that. "And you're different, so what?" And that was in a very conservative country. That was in Jordan back in the 90s, 1991 or something. So he gave me a lot of self-confidence. He believed in me. He said, "I like badass girls. I don't like princesses, honestly. And you're a badass girl. And that here is where you belong, in the training." So he helped shape a lot like my identity, my confidence during training in Taekwondo.
So then you did a lot of competition for a while there and got a lot of awards, which is amazing that you were just constantly so competitive. It wasn't a straight journey like to SheFighter. You did some other things. In fact, at one point you were living here in Canada, you're a Canadian citizen, you were learning French and a few things like that. But what was the turning point where you suddenly realized that you wanted to take what you knew in Taekwondo and start a business?
So, you believe in fate? Do you believe in fate? Do you think it exists? We come to this life and we leave without our permission. Like, we don't choose to come to this life and we don't choose to leave. A lot of people believe that the path is our choices, right? I thought I can create my own path, but sometimes you are redirected on your path that you have to walk on. And when you try to fight fate, like, no, this is not my path, and I'm gonna try to prove to everybody that I can change my destiny or create my destiny in a way that I see myself in this. So I thought Taekwondo was for me at that time. And I wanted to compete at the Olympics to represent my country, but everything was against me. I even had, the last one was like to knock me, like when life knock you down and tell you like, listen to what we're showing you. It's not your path. Don't walk on it. So I was fighting the federation I'm originally from Palestine. I did not live in Palestine, but they still treat us like one in Jordan. So they did not want me to represent the country. And I was trying hard. I'm a gold medalist. I should represent the country. And then life knocked me completely down. Like I got injured badly in my knee, twisted my knee completely, and I was completely in bed. I had to do 2 surgeries. I was depressed. I felt like, you know, I hate God, I hate life. What is this? I thought like if you work hard, you can get your goals, but why am I in bed now and I can't even get back? I'm like back to 0 all over again. And I had dark thoughts. Dark thoughts took over my brain. I was thinking about committing suicide many times. And you know your friends at that time, because most of them, they would never show up when you're in a bad situation. So you started knowing really who are your friends. So my Taekwondo coach visited me and he said, it's a good practice for patience. Now you have to learn how to be patient. And at that time I was like in a bad situation. And I remember nobody helped me but myself. That's why I believe also mental health they have to try to help themselves as much as they can. So I took a book. I remember it's called Chicken Soup for the Teenage Soul. It really works. It helped me. I remember that book. I started reading it because I'm bored. I have a lot of time. I have all the time in the world. I can't even go to school, which is great. So I started reading Chicken Soup. I realized I'm not alone because everybody looks normal in the country. You know, they go to school, they're happy, they're normal kids, and everybody just, you know, like, they're proud of their kids, but I felt like I'm always a not normal person and I'm the, you know, ugly girl or whatever. And then when I started reading that book, it gave me more hope and like, well, I'm not alone. There's other people who've been through situations. So I said, I'm gonna focus on the moment. I'm gonna heal every single day. I don't care about tomorrow. And I will just make it through the day. And that's it for the next day and the next day. And after a few years, I started healing and I started running back again and going to swimming and I was reading a lot and my mind got expanded in different ways that I started to see potential in life. And that's where, when I got in college, one of my friends, she got abused by her brother and father. She came with bruises on her face and I was really upset. I told her, why you didn't stand up for yourself? And she said, I can't stand up for myself. Women are weak. We are weak. And this is my father. What do you want me to do? I can't do anything. You know, I live with him. And I was really upset about domestic violence and women believing that they cannot do anything. So I said, I'm going to start teaching women how to stand up for themselves through self-defense. And I did not even imagine it would grow that big. I started at the basement of my parents' house. It was a long time ago, and 10 years ago, I think. And I said, I just want to teach them how to defend themselves. That's what I did. And I started with 2 women joining the training in the basement. And after a while, I got a lot of women coming and joining the training. That I said, you know what, I'm gonna take it seriously and I'm gonna set up a studio for women. So I took the risk and started SheFighter, the first self-defense studio for women in the Middle East in 2012.
That's amazing. Now, tell me how many people you have trained to date, and you obviously aren't doing this all on your own. You need to have instructors. Where are you at today in terms of the business, the amount of women that you've impacted, and how many countries have you visited?
So when I started in 2012, everybody said, I'm gonna fail. They said, don't put your investment in something that will never last, because women are never interested in martial arts, especially in that area. You're interested, right?
I am.
Yeah, of course. I did not. So you see, when people even like close to you try to tell you or to show you that you're wasting your time and money, it's not their dream to follow, it's your dream, and they don't recognize your dream. So we come to life with a dream, and we grow up and we forget about it. I mean, growing up is not a problem. Forgetting about it is a problem. I think we don't come here just like numbers. We all have missions and we all have things to do and to give to life before we leave. And I held to this dream all the time. I believed in it. Nobody ever saw that SheFighter would grow that big because it's not their dream. They don't recognize it.
Let's go back for a second. How big is it now?
I have trained more than 18,000 women globally, certified more than 550 instructors across the globe. We've been in 65 countries so far.
When it comes to refugees, I know you mentioned that you've trained women in the refugees, but you chose to train women in the refugee camps, not yourself with your own team, but with a train-the-trainer approach. How is that different, or why was that actually more effective to the women?
So I went to the UNHCR, which they run the camps for the refugees, and I gave them an idea. I said, you don't need to bring trainers from outside the camp. These Syrian refugees can become the leaders, and they can train others. And they did not believe in the idea at the beginning. They said, well, they don't have the skills, they don't have the knowledge. I said, we teach them. It's simple. We teach people, like, why you don't believe in them? And I had to sit many meetings, and then I convinced them, and we started training of trainers for Syrian refugees. It went for a while, and these women started training in the camps. And it was so successful that they got to us the second year, and they said, we want to make them go for the next level. So they continue the training, and we're going to bring more women to get certified in the first level. So it was really successful that they impacted and started training other kids and women and boys in the camps. And that's how you create leaders. It's never about you, it's about others. You need to believe in other people, even if they don't have anything. Even if they don't have the skills, you teach them skills. They don't have to, graduate from Harvard to work, to learn something that you can teach them. You can just spend and invest time on people so they can really use that skill to generate their own income or become leaders in their own communities. So that's how I work. It's never about me. It's about others all the time. Orphans, women with disabilities, Syrian refugees, women all over the globe, they need just people to believe in them.
So it sounds like the fact that women weren't interested in martial arts is wrong, that you've got a lot of followers, a lot of graduated students who has a skill set. One of the things I read about Marie Claire was the fact you said that a lot of men don't care and they're not that supportive. But then I saw this amazing video of Barack Obama, and he's like, welcome to the White House, and thank you for being here. This is a whole bunch of entrepreneurs and investors all coming together, and where's Lina Khalifeh? And he pointed her out in the middle of the video, and he's like, and there's people here like Lina Khalifeh who is making a social impact and a difference in the world, and thank you for doing that. It was so wild to see him support you. Yeah. But outside of him like calling you out at the White House and saying hello, how has he helped the support of men to be allies to you and your business around the world?
Yeah, it was a surprise for me. When I was at the White House, I did not expect that President Barack Obama would just call me out from the audience, and I thought like I'll be giving a speech right now. I was like nervous, like why did he call my name? Like, did I do something? But it was amazing to be recognized by a powerful leader, because in the Middle East they respect President Obama a lot. So when I flew back, all the men, not women, I had a lot of men asking me so many questions, and they're like, "Oh, you met President Obama? Did you, like, is he good? Is he?" So sometimes a male leader, when he stands with another woman leader, it gives her also. It would add more support in communities, especially that they believe in the power of men. So you will have more supporters coming from men. And from that time, I had a lot of respect coming from Middle Eastern men in even like other countries like Asia or European countries, because they do respect him a lot. I mean, it wasn't the same when I got the award with Hillary Clinton, because she's a woman, and it's like for them it's different than President Obama. So for them, Obama is like I think everybody loves him, right? Yeah, we yeah, he was here at the conference, so I was invited as well.
So a couple of lessons I've heard so far is one is that when you know something, to believe in yourself and go after your passion, that you have something to give to other people in terms of being able to teach people, that you don't have to do it all on your own. You might not know the path you're taking right away, and it could take years and setbacks, but also that it means that we work together, that just because you're a woman and you're trying to do something that's going to help other women does not mean that you can't have the support of men as well. You know, martial arts isn't just a female sport either to pick up. You see it everywhere. And so we want to make sure we had a group audience here that represented everyone. And Lina's story is really interesting in a lot of capacities. You know, I can imagine that you've had, outside of bullying when you got hit in the face with a rock, as you're creating this your business and you're back in the Middle East, were you threatened? Have you had to use your skills in other ways? What about your, like, just the different aspects of who you are and how that's not so accepted in Jordan?
Yeah, when you start a revolution or a movement, or I call this business a movement because I am making a lot of changes with mentality in society. Expect that you will be, you'll be threatened a lot. There's people who will try to destroy you in different ways. For example, one of the many stories that I have, but you need to stand up for yourself all the time. You need to understand it's not about gender, it's not about you being a woman or a man. When something happens to you, you need to stand your ground and just try to solve that problem. And don't think about it all the time that I'm a woman, that's why they did that to me. No, just talk to them like they, in a way, with confidence to solve the problem. I learned that the tough way living there. So one time, I got stopped by anti-smuggling department cars, SUV black cars. I had like a box in my trunk that is filled with gloves, just gloves. And they stopped me, and it stopped me one car at the beginning, and the police got out. I did not get out of the car, and he said, "What do you have in the trunk?" And I said, "Well, gloves." He said, "What?" I said, "Well, those things you train with, the gloves." And he said, "Open the trunk." So I opened the trunk, and he said, "Go open the box." And when your ego you have like a bad day already, and you had enough, and when your ego hits and you answer the cop in this way, you say, "Why don't you go open it yourself?" It's like a fact. So it's like, "What did you say?" I said, "Why don't you open it yourself, since you stopped me with this big black car? I'm not gonna go open the box. You asked for it, go open it." And I'm like, it even said like, "Lina, shut up. What the fuck are you doing?" And then he's like, "Get off the car." I get out of the car, and like, I'm not gonna open it. And he had like his, he had like a gun here, and another cop came out of the vehicle, and then they called their boss. And then another 5 SUV black cars came, all surrounded, blocked my car, and I had 20 cops around me. And they were they were annoyed that I was talking to them in that way. And I was telling myself, like, "Lina, they're gonna take you to jail. And they said, "We're gonna take the car and we're gonna take you." So I said, I want 1 minute to make a phone call. So I called my father. I said, "Hi, Dad." He's like, "Hey, Lina, what's up?" I said, "How's your day going?" He's like, "What did you do?" He knows, like, I'm like, "Can you come here? There's like 5 or 6 SUV black anti-smuggling cars, and there's 20 cops. Oh, they're all around me, and they want to take me to jail or in." I don't know. It's like, "What did you do?" "Okay, I'll be there in 2 minutes." He was there, like, he was driving so fast, and he came. He was like shocked from what he saw. I was like, They're standing and 20 cops around me just staring at me, you know. I think they were trying to recognize if I'm a girl or a boy for like the first 10 minutes. And then he came in and he said, oh, hello, you know, it's a very male-dominated country, right? So he said, oh, hello, you know, I want to invite you all to coffee. Why don't you come to my office? And they said, oh, is she your daughter? And he said, yeah, she's my daughter. She goes to school. I did not go to school at that time. It's like, she goes to school, don't listen to her. You know, she's like, she just took her mother's car or whatever. And I was like, no, I didn't. I was like, go inside the car. So he invited them all for coffee, and they were just suddenly, they changed their mood and they started laughing with him. And they're like, oh, just go, it's okay. We now, your father is like funny. We're gonna go with him. And that's how I solved it. It was like, I think it was luck that played a big part. But I do face a lot of these stupid situations sometimes. Most of the time.
So it sounds like you're learning from your own discipline over time, and it's taken some time to use some of the things that you teach others, and you've been able to do that in across countries and in many different ways. In a few minutes, we're going to try out a few moves, and the reason I want to do that is to show you like what it's like, what's possible, and hoping that you'll come out to the class next week and try some moves yourself. One of the things that we like to teach at SalesForce is presence and confidence and gravitas when you're speaking in front of others and executives. And I thought, like, what way, how does that make sense? You know, there's one way to teach it straight on and say, this is how you stand and this is how you speak. But there's another one that's actually just a normal part of your life, right? Where you're learning confidence and you're learning abilities and things that you may or may not need to actually use. But as you know, growing up as adults, like there are things that just build your confidence over time. And so I thought this was a different way of doing it, that, you know, in some sense it might save your life one day, or it might just be, you'll just carry yourself a little bit higher, a little bit stronger. So I'm looking at the time because I want to play around with some people in the room. First thing I want to ask is, does anyone have any questions for Lina from what you've heard so far? And Lina is just launching her book, so we have some copies here. And if you ask her a question or come up and participate in one of our moves, we'll give you a copy for you to read. So first of all, questions from the audience. Anything you want to ask Lina? I can think of 5 things I want to ask her, but I want to give other people a chance.
Should you give me the mic?
I'm loud, it's okay. I have a 10-year-old daughter, and I'm a girl dad, like we've heard from Kobe, and all the tributes to him. But I'm having a real challenge with trying to encourage her to be that badass. And, you know, we have a lot of first world problems here in Toronto, so unfortunately, not so much bullies and these types of experiences that you've had. How would you encourage me as a dad to try and get her to think more about empowering herself and, you know, really being able to, you know, maybe take that next step into that.
When I used to work with kids, I get like a lot of parents like this, even boys. Sometimes they tell me, my boy is getting bullied, can you just make him more tougher? Or, but it's about personalities. People have different personalities. And I would like, one advice would be just introduce her to take her around to try different martial arts. Or even sports. She might be interested in one, and sports build a lot of confidence in kids and teenagers. And that's the best way she would get to know more about herself through the physical intelligence, like all the connection between her body and mind. And yeah, but she might empower, I mean, different people have different ways to help and spread messages and be badasses. Some people through writing, some people through speaking, some people through dancing, some people through singing and art, and different ways. I wouldn't expect anybody like to be like my childhood. I was completely like, I had like bruises every single day and injuries every single day. But there's many ways. I think it's really important as a parent to understand this, that she will recognize her strength by herself and slowly build on it. But as a kid, like, just introduce her to different level, like try. If you like it, you're gonna sign up. If you don't like it, you'll try something else. That's the best way you can do it.
Oh, thank you.
Another question? Go ahead.
I have a two-part question. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So the first is you realize that sometimes in life you're kind of fighting against the path that you're on. So how do you gently remind yourself when you are trying something and it's failing that maybe this is a path for you? And then the second part is where do you hope that path will lead you to as a second?
Okay, so I believe in something that the universe speaks through us all. It always speaks to us every single day. You just have to pay more attention. But don't be too obsessed about it. You know what I mean? Like still act like a human being. Like don't analyze everything. But there is signs. There is like things that redirect you. Sometimes this path you're taking, or you make a decision, let's say, and this decision, let's say, get in a job or in a position. But it's like everything is going against what you're trying to pursue. Everything is like stopping you. It doesn't mean that sometimes like if you try to push harder, it means that you will get that job. But there's like maybe some, you know what I mean? Like it's like, so I believe this dimension we live in, there's so many things we don't see around us. And it's like there's open doors here, but we keep looking at the closed door. But we can't see another door that is wide open for us, calling for us, you know, like every single day, you know, like it's open, you're stupid, you're idiot, come here, look here, because I do that all the time. Like I want to go in this direction, and I know I can, but maybe it's not meant for me. Maybe it's someone else. And one important thing, don't try to walk in a path thinking like if someone else got in that path and they became very famous, that if you do the same, you're gonna get famous too. That's completely wrong, because it's their path, and they recognize the power within, and they just use their strength to keep. And they know it's just their path, because it's their dream to follow. It's what they see at the end road, but they don't know what's going on during the journey. So it's like driving a car. You know where you're heading, but you don't know what's gonna happen during the way, right? You might get an accident. You might stop for a while. Your car might break down. It's people will go in and go out. It's like life and death, right? And that's how I see life. I know that I kind of know. I wouldn't say like 100% know what I'm supposed to be, because I'm very connected to after the surgeries and all of this. I had to ask, and life works like this. Ask for anything you want. It's as simple as this. You just sit down by yourself in a meditation pose, whatever, you know, you're sitting by yourself, just be specific. Like, I want a car, for example. Or can you get me a car? Because we do have a lot of these dimensions, which like had a lot of things. We don't know that it exists, like angels, I don't know, like other things that do exist. And they don't read your mind. They don't read your mind. So when you say it out loud, you actually attract it back to your life. I was doing that most of the time when I want things coming to my life. For example, one of the things I said, I want the right people to come to my life. And and not one time, I would ask many, many times. Like it doesn't mean that one time you're gonna get what you ask for. Ask many times for it, and it will come in your way. But you have to believe that this way works. Did I answer?
And not always to be so cognitive either, right? Like in terms of just like picking up and getting a sense for what feels right and what doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, always follow how you feel, because I believe that feeling travels through time. Time is created by human beings just to get our life in order, but everybody has their own time. So you come here in a different time, you leave on a different time, you will succeed in a different time than your friends, or you have a different time, and it's like different dimensions. And you will, once you understand this, you start attracting the people that goes around the same dimension or time. It's like this philosophy I believe in, because I know if I did not, let's say, succeed now, I can succeed maybe in my 50s or 40s. But maybe if someone succeeded in their 20s, they might die in their 30s. So everybody has their own clock. Have you seen Alice in Wonderland by any chance? Have you seen the second, I think it was the second one, the movie, Alice in Wonderland, where she went into Wonderland and she found different clocks for different people. And when, there's one who's in charge of all the clocks. And when someone has to die, they say, oh, time's up. And they take the clock, they put it in their pocket. You have to watch it, it's very interesting. So it's kind of similar, yeah.
So talking about this, like the senses and being aware of your life and what you attract, let's just bring it back to just the concept of walking down the street and how some people seem to attract good energy, some people seem to attract bad energy. Sometimes you find yourself in weird situations. I'm going to bring this back to the martial arts piece. What is one of the things that you would first say to somebody in terms of what they need to think about when they are in presence, walking down the street, just trying to have an awareness of what's around them?
Don't think about anything negative that will happen. That's number one. That's why I said we teach people how to fight in order not to fight. So once you break that fear and you went into fighting and you tried it and you get like a lot of punches also on your face and your body, you kind of know how to fight and to react to fighting. So when you're in the street and you're nervous that you will be attacked, you might get attacked because you're actually attracting that kind of energy. But when you walk and it doesn't even occur to your mind that something bad would happen to you, nothing would happen to you. So be careful of your thoughts because thoughts can become things. And the more you think about it, the more it will become reality. And that's how we create life. Either we create our own dreams or we work to create someone else's dream. So be careful of your thoughts because once your thoughts are spread out there, they become things. And you can attract negative situations to your life, negative people to your life. I've seen that in Syrian refugees. There is one woman, she has her life is totally fine. She never get harassed or attacked or raped, nothing. And there's another woman living in the same camp. She get all the abuse and the sexual assault and everything happening to her. And when I was sitting with them, this woman is actually less confident than that woman. That woman knows that nobody can mess up with her. Even though she's in the camp raising her kids, she knows that nothing will happen to her. So it's just how you view life. I always say your life is a reflection of who you are deep inside. So what's in, you create outside, but you don't know it. But that's why I said watch your thoughts, be aware of the universe because it's speaking to you all the time, and just try to be more connected. Not on social media.
I'm going to imagine I'm walking down the street, and I'm having a bad day, so I have bad energy, and I'm just not being aware, and I'm just, I run into a situation, and I want to ask an audience participant to come up to learn a technique of, if you're on the street, something that you can do if somebody does decide to confront you. So who's going to come up and be?
I can teach them. Do you want to come? What's your name? Okay.
Awesome. Anushka.
Hi, Anushka. Hi. Okay, come here, Anushka. Okay. So they can see. Okay. Okay, I'll teach you one simple technique if someone is grabbing your hands like this. I mean, if they hold your hands like this, you have to do something, right? If you try to pull, it means you're putting all their body weight and you're actually adding more resistance. You need to be smart about it. So self-defense and martial arts is all about science and techniques. So let's say Anushka is I'll do it with you first, then you do it demonstrate. Okay. So she's grabbing my arms. Okay, without pulling, just grab them. Okay. I'll do it fast and then I'll explain. Okay. So what I did is I crossed. I hit both her arms, so hold tighter. Okay, I hit both her arms together, and I released my hands from the fingers, not opposite side. So, okay, I'll do it slowly, so you do it. Okay, so hold tighter. 1, 2. Okay, power. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. but like you have to go. Yeah. But of course, with practice, it becomes like second nature, first nature, and you become faster when you react, because when someone attacks you, your mind blocks. You can't think. But if you do it, it's like programming. So if you do it many, many, many times, hundreds of times, or thousands of times, your body will react like a machine without you thinking. So that's the first thing, because you're trained, right? Okay, so let's do it again. Okay, that's one. There's another one. If someone's grabbing you like this, of course there's like weak points in the hand, you know, like it's here or here. But okay, we're not gonna go through that. That's next week. So if you're grabbing both hands, like my, it's the same. Like, and if you want to release your hand all the time, release it from the fingers area, not like opposite. Don't try to pull. It's like waste of energy. So make a fist and grab your hand all the way up. You want to do it together? Let's find like someone if you want to demonstrate it. Maybe both of you together. Or you can do it. Yeah.
Michelle, you want
Yeah.
to give it a try?
Yeah, let's do it again.
All right, what is the
So grab it like this. Okay.
Is that what I do?
You make a fist like that. You use the other hand and take it all the way out.
Okay, all right. So I'm grabbing you. So you make a fist with the hand I'm grabbing you. No, you make a fist with this hand, okay? And then you grab the fist with this hand. Like that. Okay, wait, I want to. Okay. Grabbing you. Yes. Okay, we're trying to like really hold you. Okay, 1, 2. It works. It's so good. Can I try again? Grabbing me. That's so cool. That's like a really Okay. Oh yeah. You got it like this. Right? And then you cross your arms like this. Oh, okay. So you use the. It's like karate chopping. It's like wait, do it again. Yeah. And then you go this. Like. So is this helpful? Like just to give you an idea. Oh, like you slice. Yes. Oh, yes. So you karate chop yourself. Like karate chop. Okay, I got one more move I want you guys to like listen to for a second. And so I always wonder about the fact, what if somebody comes up and like just grabs you from behind?
I would say, hey Julie, what are you doing? You go all the way from the back. Okay, because if you're in the front and they're in the back, it means that they have more power. You need to go in the back. So you just put because it's easy. You grab. Did you see like I grab this?
Yeah.
And you release your head and lock.
Wow.
Yeah, all different techniques. My favorites, honestly, my favorite techniques is just taking the gun out of someone's hand. Or the knife. The knife, by the way, more dangerous than I know it's like very violent.
Is the knife covered? Like
Yeah, like plastic. No, plastic. It's all plastic. I never get like real. But a lot of girls get or women get threatened by a knife when it comes to rape, or they just show the knife and she completely like she can't do anything. That's why there are so many techniques in taking the knife out, but a lot of training to take it out because it has to be really fast, and the gun as well. It has to be, but you have to be so close in order to take it out. It all comes with practice and confidence.
awesome. So I want to give you guys time. If there are any other questions for Lina, and I know that it's coming up to 1 o'clock, so people need to head on to their meetings. But we're hoping if you haven't signed up to come next week on a Tuesday. There's 2 sessions. Each is an hour. It's a co-ed class, totally like low key, no stress, and you're gonna learn some other techniques like this. And the goal also is for you to take the techniques home and teach other people. So your kids, your friends, husband, wife, have some fun with it. So I think the practice makes sense, and then hopefully you learn confidence You never actually have to do these techniques unless you're joking around with friends. So
Yeah.
thank you for coming today, Lina. I appreciate it.
Signing off.
Yeah, that was awesome. So